He has served on company and institutional boards. He is currently the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Osun State University, popularly known as UNIOSUN. His professional offices include Judge of the Kwara State Local Government Election Petition Tribunal in 1996, Member, Kwara State Local Government Election Appeal Tribunal in 1997, Member, Board of Benchers, Member, National Executive Committee, former Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Nigeria Bar Journal, and Chairman of the Committee on the Rule of Law. The Senior Advocate of Nigeria is a patron and legal advisor to professional and socio-cultural groups in Nigeria. He is listed in America's biographical Who is Who and Who is Who in Nigeria. He is an associate lecturer at the Faculty of Law, University of Ilorin. He has presented papers at various fora, including the International Bar Association Conference. He contributed chapters to various legal publications and published articles in fields including litigation and commercial law. He prosecuted cases for state governments in Nigeria, high net worth individuals, corporate and institutional claims. Mallam Yusuf Olaolu Alli San was on the legal team that defended the electoral victory of late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua before the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. Kindly join me in welcoming, on behalf of the Director General, Rashid Folarami, and management of OSBC, Mallam Yusuf Olaolu Alli, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as OSBC's Guest of the Month for July 2021. Sir, you're welcome on the program. Our focus on this edition of Guest of the Month is Nigeria's democracy and the rule of law, the way forward. Mallam Yusuf Olaolu Alli is not here alone. You have the Who is Who as far as the Osun State University is concerned here. The team, the powerful team, is led by the Vice Chancellor of that institution, Professor Labo Opola. We welcome you all. Of course, the open air studio of OSBC is full. Who is who in their own rights. You have members of the civil rights organization here present. We welcome you. The vigilante group also are here. Nigeria Police Force, Osun Command, PRO of that command, we welcome you. We have students coming from UNIOSUN and a number of secondary schools. We have members of the Nigeria Bar Association here present. And of course, we have retired Justice Kunle Adeyibi also here with us. Can we give ourselves a round of applause, please? Yes, going straight to the panelists for today, we have on the panel the Director of News and Current Affairs of Osun State Broadcasting Corporation Radio Service, Abimbola Babatunde, present. Incidentally, a lawyer. So he's a lawyer to a lawyer. You have seated next to him another lawyer who is representing Federal Corporation of Nigeria, FRCN, in Osun. Akinola Adenitan, you welcome. Whether lawyer in training, lawyer in practice, we refer to you. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Of course, you have the state correspondent of Alaroye newspapers. Also, you have Florence Babashola. You're welcome.
Thank you.
The program, as usual, is going to be bilingual with English and Yoruba language on parade. So while the three of us, or those two will be doing the English, is here to do the Yoruba. And in between, I have the license to do either the English or the Yoruba. Once again, you're welcome. Now, let's go straight to business for today, sir. Let's look at the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. A lot of people have given so many assessments of the Constitution. Some will say it's lacking legitimacy, and they will say it's because after it was put together orally by General Abdul Salam Abubakar regime it was neither subjected to plebiscite, to referendum, or even national conference. Some would say it's the major problem, the fundamental problem Nigeria is having today is a result of that constitution. And some have even said, let's do away with it completely. Since we are looking at democracy and the rule of law, you don't build something or nothing. Let's start by your own assessment, your description, your definition of the Federal Republic of Nigeria's 1999 Constitution as amended. How do you see it?
Well, Mr. Moderator, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the management of OSBC for the invitation extended to me to come and share my thoughts on democracy, governance, and rule of law, and all the things that go with them. You are quite right about various views that have been expressed about the Constitution. Was it legitimate? Was it okay? Was it legal? People tend to forget our history. You can't compare Nigeria to America, to the United States. For the American Constitution that came into force in 1777, a civil war was fought. Some of the states wanted to go their ways. Some wanted to stay together. And as a consensus, the few states that were available then sat down and said, look, we agree on certain basic things. And that accounted for the very nature of the American Constitution compared to our own. But our own Constitution was a child of circumstances. For those of us who are students of history, we had our first problem in governance in 1966 January, when the military came into power, 16th of January. And they suspended the 1963 Republican Constitution. And they were in government having issues between themselves. There were coups, counter-coups, unsuccessful coups. They did that until 1979, when Obasanjo handed over to Shehu Shagari. And it was the military of Obasanjo that produced the 1979 Constitution. At that time, if you recall, the hues and cries about the 1999 Constitution was not as vociferous as it is today, even though it was also that 79 Constitution was produced by a military government. Now, in between, there were a lot of issues. Shagari was overthrown on 31st December 1983. There then came back our patriots in uniform. By training, people in uniform cannot occupy governance space in any society. And all countries that have gone through military rule have had stunted growth. There is no way to look at it. And the reasons are not quite far-fetched, because they didn't have the training for what I call pluralism of ideas and views. This is command structure. The man who's at the end of it all, even if he's the most unintelligent of the lot, his words are the will of everybody. You have to obey. Whereas in the democracy, there is dissent. Actually, dissent assists people to come to correct decisions. I will say A, he will say B, she will say C. Our ability to sit together and synthesize those various contending views will at the end of the day produce something that we can all live with. So when the military was going in 1999, they now said, let's have a constitution. And they convoked others, about 49 people, who came out. Then there was a drafting committee. So if you give that as the basis of how the constitution came about, there is no other way it could have come about. There is no other way. Because if you constitute a sovereign conference, if if the military considered a sovereign conference, what you are saying is in essence that that conference that will produce and it will make the government, the military government, illegitimate. And nobody does that. So my view is that all the views, if you aggregate them, they are correct to a certain level. But the important thing is that the constitution has been produced. What have been able to make of the constitution? My view generally, and I tell people, the food does not make the monk. Law on its own does not organize a society. It is you and I that organize societies. So the problem is not with the problem with the constitution. It is our inability as a people to run by what we have. The constitution had made provisions for virtually everything that will have been produced by any other body. You have a chapter 2 that deals with the principles of state policy. You have chapter 3 that deals with citizenship. You have chapter 4 that deals with fundamental human rights. Chapter 5 that deals with governance, the legislature, the executive, the judiciary, and so on and so forth. So, for me, what is important for us is how do we make the constitution to work for us? And that's where we've been lacking. And I think for me, like in other areas of our lives as a people, Nigeria is having problems we are having, not because we don't have laws in place. Our ability to implement simple rules and regulations is at the root cause of our problems. And I'll give you an example, and I'm happy policemen are here. The simplest of all rules in anywhere in the world is traffic rules. How do we observe those rules? The number of people that we lose every year to vehicular accidents is more than the number of people that get killed in civil wars in some parts of the world. Because of our inability to observe simple rules of driving.
Let's see how we can make the 1989 Constitution of the Federal Republic as amended work for us as a people.
Yes.
Maybe that will be the way forward.
It is.
That is what we are looking at on this program. Abimbola Babatunde.
Thank you very much. Sir, one of the front burner issues agitating the polity in Nigeria today, apart from insecurity and banditry and everything like that, is the issue of Electoral Act amendment. Recently, there was a furore in the National Assembly concerning that, in particular on the provisions of Section 52(3) of the Act, which has to do with electronic transmission of election results. Now, do you think we are ripe for transmitting election results electronically? That is one. And the other one is, do you think the National Assembly is right to have taken a position, giving a conditional go ahead on that, without calling on the electoral umpire, the INEC, on that issue?
Well, let me say straight away that we are very, very ripe for e-transmission of election results. With the existence of all these phones and the advancement in IT, and the fact that Nigeria has the largest concentration of phone users in Africa per capita, I think we are more than adequately ready. All the resources that are necessary, we have good internet services, at least in urban areas in our country. And it appears now the GSM works in probably all the most remotest part of our country as well. So we are more than ready. I was surprised that National Assembly could go the way it went. Surprised because I thought they should have been a bit circumspect. But you have to appreciate, again, where we are coming from. Our electoral problem system is plagued with a lot of problems and challenges caused by human beings, you and I, and the politicians. You see, years ago, I was doing an election petition for somebody who was trying to come in as a governor in one of the states. Luckily, we succeeded at the end of the day. But he came one day and was telling me, sir, you know, so party, they like rigging. That's why we lost. I said, please, don't insult my intelligence. I said, shun of all arguments. Virtually all we go to do in all these tribunals is, how come you are able to over-rig us? Nobody is fighting for the sanctity of the vote. So, one would then not be surprised, because with respect to many members in the legislature and the executive, they were beneficiaries of the skilled nature of our electoral process. So anything that will straighten it, they will resist. E-transmission of results would expose the grand larceny that goes about the name of election process in our country. So anything that would expose them, that will not make it possible to manipulate the process, they will resist. The political class in this country will resist it. It's for you and I to say, look, this is what we want. We want our votes to count. They will only pay lip service. It is we that must insist. That's the minimum we require. I believe the National Assembly still has the golden opportunity to redeem itself. Let them restore the e-transmission of results. I took part actively in the challenge of the election of the president. I was in the team of the president that defended his electoral victory. And I knew what the other side were trying to say. And it's better, and I told people, when in 1999 there were so many election petitions, in 2003 there were so many, and I told people, I said my prediction is simple. The more transparent our election processes become, the less electoral litigation that will be resulting. So, for me, the more transparent, the better for all of us. So I would say, I agree that we are more than ripe for e-transmission of electoral results, and that the National Assembly should please, and on good enough, INEC came out to say that we have the capacity. If our security forces could track bandits and kidnappers through the use of telephones, oh, come on, are we saying that we are worse than people in the Niger Republic? Or Benin? And you can see what is going on in Benin, what is going on about the Mo and all these things about the courts. And I'm happy, my Lord, the retired Justice Kuyadegbe is there. So thank you very much. I think I've answered your question.
Yes, Akin.
Let me look at it from this perspective.
Okay.
The principle in law says nemo judes.
In council.
But now you have to be a judge in your own cross. The judiciary institution is important in the evolution, consolidation, and development of democracy.
Yes.
And the judiciary is also a very strong institution worldwide. Now, you have been part of the process since 1999. And remember,
before.
Yes, I'm just trying to recall now the Fourth Republic, as it says that we are. And I recall in 2003, your involvement in the AD versus Ayodele Fayose State.
Yes.
And 2007 and so on and so forth. You have been involved practically in all of them. Now, to do this self-appraisal, and vis-a-vis some of the decisions of the court, I will look at the Rivers case of Amishi against Celestia Obeya,
yes,
and some other cases. You see the judiciary as playing such a very, very fundamental role in the progression of Nigerian democratic development, given the contradiction that has actually evolved or emerged in one or two decisions of the court?
Well, number one, we should not ascribe infallibility to the judiciary. Judiciary is manned by human beings, like people like you and I. We have our predilections, our preferences, our likes and dislikes. Like I always, and you are told in jurisprudence, and I'm sure you have been told too, that what goes into the judgment is more than what happens in the court. That's the truth. I'm not talking in terms of people giving money to anybody. I'm talking in terms of the judge himself lives in the society. He knows what is going on around him. Why not for the judiciary, this democracy will have collapsed. I can say that anywhere, any day. Left to the political class, every time is fight to the finish with them. The judiciary had assisted us to streamline, and I give you examples. The gale of impeachments was so rife up to 2006. When Governor Ladoja was impeached, before Ladoja, there had been no successful challenge of an impeachment in this country. So, some of us got involved. I represented Governor Ladoja. Well, Olaolu led the team for the 18 members of the House of Assembly that were loyal to him, who insisted that the Constitution must be followed. And we went to court. Nobody gave us a chance. It was the courts that restored sanity. We had situations where 3 members would go and say they were impeaching a governor in the House of Assembly of 30 people. Once they had the backing of the federal government and the security forces. That decision of the Supreme Court in 2006 put a stop to it. This same democracy, I go back to Amici against INEC. Why not for the courts? So the courts had assisted us at least to put politicians in check, not to be using extrajudicial power. Otherwise, left to politicians. They don't mind that children of the poor should kill themselves because they were looking for power. But the reason that, at least there is hope, we can go to the courts as assisted. And for me, the courts as a human institution have done more than I will give an 80% score. But don't forget, like I told you, and I've said this in various fora where I deliver papers on the electoral process and things like that. I said, look, the average Nigerian does not believe you can win or lose in the court free and fair. All of you that are sitting down here, including all of us, including members of the audience, how many of us here will have a case and will allow the judges to do their work the way they know? Then they will come and see who knows Dr. Adeigbe. Yusuf Alli must be close to him, was his friend. So let's go and talk to him. Maybe we'll talk to him. That's the minimum. Others will go and start to take money and say, look, we can get to him. So we ourselves, we do not believe in the sanctity of justice. Me, I always say it the way I understand. So the day all of us make up our minds that, look, we allow the courts to do their work without intimidation, without pressure, then we will be there, fun and fair. It's even worse among the people in the political class who never believe that justice is not for sale. They don't believe so. 99% of our politicians don't believe so. And I think I'm involved enough to know. I'm involved enough to know. So all of us, let all of us have faith and confidence in the judiciary. I always tell people, if you and I, we have matter in court, if you don't approach the judges, you are not using extrajudicial means, and I'm not using it. If the judge will make a mistake, it will be a mistake of the head, not of the heart. But when you start to pressurize judges, you start to send their wives to them, their children to them, their mothers to them, and in extreme cases, you try to induce them with money. You can't turn around and do that and you say the judiciary is not okay. Because you are part of the problem. So for me, judiciary is doing a human's job, given the circumstances. And I always tell people, of the 3 arms of government, it's the judiciary that has sustained this country, even from 1960. Don't even remember 1999. Since 1960. Because it has been the most consistent arm of government. During the time of military, there will be no legislature. The military would acquire the legislative and executive powers to themselves. Judiciary, I recall the Lakami case in 1968. Where the Supreme Court came out smoking to say that, look, you can't occupy executive and legislative power and also want to acquire the judicial power. Of course, Gowon fought back by Decree 28, but that is judiciary spoke. So you will see, anybody who is objective I'm not saying the judiciary is made up of agents. No, I'm not saying so, because they are Nigerians like us. But let's leave them to do their work in accordance with their oaths of offices. And I'm sure all of us will be okay.
Yes, we want to be okay. And we should be okay.
I pray so.
Bí mo ṣe sọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò yìí, mo ní abala méjì lè tó pín sí. Àwọn onífẹ́ràn ìfẹ́tì lédè Ìgbò àti èdè abínibí wa lédè Yorùbá. Florence Babasola, Aláròyé làwọn. Nínú àròyé wọn ó béèrè lọ́wọ́ àlejò wa pàtàkì. Àwọn náà sì dáhùn. Ìjọba òdòṣùdó gbogbo wa wá. Ṣùgbọ́n kó má jẹ́ fún farara wa náà dáhùn wá. Àwa náà la tún yẹ́lẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ́ kan.
À ń fọwọ́ ṣiṣẹ́.
À ń fọwọ́ ṣiṣẹ́.
À ń fẹsẹ̀ dánù.
Ó dàbí akọgbàtúgbàká. Florence.
Ẹ ṣé, ọ̀kan pàtàkì lára ìbéèrè tó ń jáwọ́ jásẹ̀ nínú ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwa ọmọ orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà yìí lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ lásìkò yìí ni pé lábẹ́ ìjọba tiwantiwa ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àǹfààní ló wà ń bẹ yàtọ̀ sí ìjọba ológun. Ta wá ló jẹ́ ẹ̀rù jẹ̀jẹ̀ fún ìjọba tiwantiwa? Ṣé àwọn tí wọ́n kóra wọn jọ ni tí wọ́n sọ pé àwọn fẹ́ máa dá ìjọba tàwọn ṣe fúnra wọn? Àbí àwọn Fúlàní darandaran, àwọn tí agbésùmọ̀mí, àwọn tí wọ́n hùwà kò sí ohun tí mi ò lè ṣe, kò sẹ́ni tó máa mú mi láwùjọ wa? Ta ni ó ń dúnkokò lájà mọ́ ìjọba tiwantiwa láàrin àwọn méjèèjì?
Ẹ ṣé, ẹ̀yin yóò bá ní pé tí ò bá sí ìṣẹ́ ò ní ṣẹ́. Gbogbo tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà lọ́wọ́ báyìí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ àfọwọ́fà ni. Kí ni mo fi sọ bẹ́ẹ̀? Ìlú tó bá ń fẹ́ àlàáfíà ó gbọ́dọ̀ dúró di òtítọ́ àti ìdájọ́ òdodo. Gbogbo ìlú tí ìyẹn jẹ́ bá ti wà ìwòsínú ó máa wà, mi ò ní gbà ó sì máa wà, because èmi máa sọ fáwọn èèyàn lè fọyàn létí kẹ́mi ó mọ̀ kéé, gbogbo ẹni tó bá náà ló gbọ́dọ̀ kéé, tẹ́ bá fọyàn létí yẹn ní kò gbọ́dọ̀ pariwo, then èèyàn burúkú lẹni tó fọyàn yẹn létí. Gbogbo húlẹ̀húlẹ̀ gbogbo wàhálà tó ń bẹ pé èmi fẹ́ máa dá ṣe tèmi, èmi náà fẹ́ dá ṣe tèmi, àwọn ẹni tó ń sọ nǹkan wọ́n gbàgbọ́ wípé ìyànjẹ ti pọ̀ jù, pé kò sì sí ìjọba òdodo nínú ìdílé gbogbo wa tá ti wá láàrin ọkọ àtìyàwó. Tí àwọn bá ṣe ọbẹ̀ tó kó ẹran 15 sínú ọbẹ̀, tọkọ jẹ́ oníwọ̀bìà tó kó ẹran, ìyàwó ọkọ àtọmọ 6, tọkọ dé nínú ẹran 15 tó jẹ 14, sẹ́ni pé wàhálà ó so. Àpèjúwe tí mo lè fọ́rọ̀ Nàìjíríà nìyẹn. Àlejò ṣe ọbẹ̀ kí ọkọ fowó ọbẹ̀ kalẹ̀, kíyàwó ṣe wàhálà láti dáná, nínú èèyàn 8 kọ́kọ́ jẹran 14 nínú 15, kò ní rọgbọ. Àwọn fẹ́ dájọba tiwa ṣe, àwọn Yorùbá láwọn fẹ́ lọ tiwọn lọ́tọ̀, Ìgbò láwọn fẹ́ lọ tiwọn lọ́tọ̀, àwọn kan láwọn fẹ́ lọ tiwọn lọ́tọ̀. Ìbò àwọn darandaran tó ń dà àwọn èèyàn láàmú àtàwọn tó ń jiyàn gbé, oníkálukú wọn ló ń tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ láwùjọ, àìṣedéédé ìjọba láti fún kálukú lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ rẹ̀ ló fà á. Òun ló jẹ́ tó jẹ́ kókó. Nítorí jẹ́ kejì ní pé àìríṣẹ́ ṣe àwọn ọ̀dọ́ wọ̀nyí, ẹlòmíì wọ́n kó owó àjọ, owó kìnnìkan, owó onírú náà fi tọ́ ẹlòmíì lọ sí skul, tó sì ti ní lọ́kàn yìí pé tó bá ti ń jáde báyìí ìdẹ̀kùn dé sí ìdílé wa, tó wá jáde oṣù 6, ọdún kan, ọdún 2, ọdún 3 tí ò ríṣẹ́, wọ́n sì ní ọwọ́ tó bá dilẹ̀ ibẹ̀ ọdún ẹ̀lẹ́sùn ó mọ̀ gbé, wọ́n dẹ̀ ní ẹni tẹ́bí ń pa kò jìnnà sí èdì, ẹni tẹ́bí bá ń pa ẹ̀ nídìí àti sàsí láti sì wà wù. Àwọn nǹkan wọ̀nyí ló kójọ tó di wàhálà sí wa lọ́rùn. Ṣùgbọ́n àìṣòdodo láàrin ara wa àti ìyẹnijẹ àti tó jẹ́ ẹ̀tọ́ ká máa du àwọn èèyàn ká má fún wọn ní ẹ̀tọ́ tiwọn, òun ló wà nídìí gbogbo wàhálà pé àwọn ẹnìkan láwọn fẹ́ lọ ibì kan, àwọn kan láwọn ò lọ ibì kan. Lójú tèmi o, èmi ò rí pé ọ̀nà tó yẹ ká lọ nìyẹn. torí pé ìfún láàrin àwọn tó ń jà pé àwọn fẹ́ lọ ta àwọn lọ́tọ̀ yìí ìyẹ̀dé ń bẹ láàrin àwọn náà kò sí ìpínlẹ̀ tẹ́ dé pàápàá jùlọ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá tí ò sí pé àwọn kìíní irú bí irú Ọ̀ṣun yìí kò kàn lóòkè púpọ̀ ni Ifẹ̀ Ìjẹ̀ṣà ń bẹ lọ́dọ̀ kan àwọn kan bẹ ń bì kan that's the tó ọbẹ̀ tó wà ń bẹ nìyẹn tẹ́ bá lọ Ògùn state àwọn Ìjẹ̀bú ń bẹ ń bì kan àwọn Ẹ̀gbá ń bẹ ń bì kan tẹ́ bá lọ Oǹdó Ìlàjẹ ń bẹ lẹ́bì kan àwọn Oǹdó ń bẹ ń bì kan àwọn Àkúrẹ́ ń bẹ ń bì kan ìgbádùn mi báyìí tẹ́ bá dọ̀yọ́ Ìbàdàn Ìbàràpá Òkè Ògùn ọmọ ń fa tiwọn lọ́tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ èmi máa ń sọ fún àwọn èèyàn pẹ̀lú ọ̀nà tẹ́ gbà lọ́kọ́ lílé bí yóò bá lọ́wọ́n dá dúró wàhálà tá a fà pẹ̀lú Nàìjíríà á padà fara àrin ilẹ̀ yóò báyìí kẹ́nìkan kọ́ mọ́ tanra ẹ̀ jẹ́ òun ló fi jẹ́ pé kì í sọ̀nà tó yẹ ká gbà nìyẹn ọ̀nà tó ká gbà ní pẹ̀lú ká sọ fún gbogbo àyìn tí nǹkan jọ pàápọ̀ pẹ̀lú ẹ̀jẹ̀ àjòkólẹ̀ ká tó máa pè ká tọrọ ara wa tó àlè ẹnìkan ò lè mọ lé orí màálù mú kẹ́nìkan mọ́ fún wàrà.
tó ìrẹ́jẹ ní fẹ́ gbẹ́ ẹnìkan sọ ń gbà kan ní ìyànjẹ kan ìyànjẹ òbí ìdè bóyá a ti ń kúrò ní ìyànjẹ òbí ìdè a ti ń bọ́ sí abala bòmí. Let's look at rule of law. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe is for justice to be done and to be seen to have been done. And you look at the series of cases being determined. You have a number of them that are decided on technicalities. One was done yesterday. Yes, you look at those who are agitating for this and for that. They are seeking justice. Some will even tell you that self-determination is part of fundamental human rights, either here or elsewhere across the world.
It's not in our own constitution like that, because I must just correct that one.
Okay. So the way things are, looking critically at the Nigerian nation, you say justice is being done at all levels, critical level, most especially when it comes to court deciding on matters that affect fundamental rights of Nigerians.
Thank you. Now, rule of law means things must be done according to law and that we are all equal before the law. One thing I found again about Nigeria is that we shout rule of law when we think it favors our position. Once we think it's against us, we don't care about any rule of anything. That's number one. Number two, decisions of court are based on law and facts. To the uninitiated, to the non-lawyers, they don't understand this basic fact. And that no two cases are the same. They may be similar. They won't be the same. Number three is that, like I said earlier, Nigerians don't believe that they can lose cases on merit. Once they lose, they think that something must have gone wrong somewhere. Are you getting my point? Mm-hmm. So, now, when you go to a court of law, you are supposed to bring facts to support your case and the law. I'll give you an example. There was an election petition that happened in Oyo State at the time. I wasn't involved as a lawyer, but I knew all those who were involved as lawyers. There were allegations that there was violence. I want you to listen carefully, please. There was allegation that there was violence, ballot box snatching, shooting of guns. All these things happened in a particular place in the state. It was in Oyo State. Those allegations were made in the petition concerning Ogbomoso and its environment. But when the petitioner was going to when he started calling his witnesses, listen, no, he started calling witnesses from Ibadan area who came, they shot so, they did this, and we recover guns. In fact, the GOC was invited, the General Officer Commanding the Nigerian Army, second div. And as a trained person, I just sat back, I said, look, I mean, you have done nothing. You have just wasted our time. If you make allegation about A, you are bringing evidence about B, the result is obvious, that you will lose. But because most people, most of us are ruled by sentiments. Well, I was there in the court. They saw gun. Where did they see the gun? If you are fighting that somebody slapped you in UNIOSUN here, and you bring witness, you say, no, I was at Ayetoro. Where is the correlation? No correlation. So usually, people take cases out of their own turn, and people decide. That's why I have a standing policy. When a judgment is given, journalists will call you. And what do you think about this case? I say, I can't think anything because I've not read it. Nigeria is one funny place where people who don't know anything about law start to comment about judgments, which they have never read and they won't read. People don't take their time. So Nigerians jump into conclusions about things they don't know based on where they think the sentiment of the people are. And I always tell people, I'm not out for accolade. I will tell you exactly what my own understanding. So when they call me as a senior advocate, this case, I said, which case? He had done it before too, and I told him, I said, look, come, I can't comment about a judgment I've not read. Because your understanding of the judgment may be different from mine. So we should all know that rule of law is something all of us must buy into. You cannot be selective about rule of law. If you say we are all equal before the law, so be it. But the day you hit an Okada rider and you are in the wrong, but you throw your weight, you are destroying rule of law. Because you know somebody high up in the police force. You had a quarrel about land with your neighbor, and then you go and call policemen to come harass and something. That's the one. All of us, we abuse the rule of law. It depends on what you think. So all of us must agree within ourselves that equality before the law is equality before the law. Nothing else, nothing more.
Okay, Babatunde.
Thank you very much. You were asked a question earlier on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Yes.
I want to take us back to the issue of the Constitution.
Okay.
We spoke earlier about amending it.
Yes.
That was what the question Akin asked was about. But now, there are so many lacunae therein that has been identified. One of it is a issue of a police and security outfits, which is in the second schedule. It has a whole log of 68 items under it on the exclusive legislative list. And we have just 30 on the concurrent. Yes, concurrent legislative. Don't you think some of these items should be moved to the concurrent legislative list as a learned sake? And even thinking about it and all the lacunae in the Constitution, don't you think we should just jettison the 1999 Constitution and go for a brand new one?
Well, let me first of all say I agree with you absolutely. There are so many items on the exclusive legislative list that you go labor, wages, and I'll give you examples. And this is, and look, as a pro-chancellor of a university and the current chairman of Committee of Pro-Chancellors of State Universities. There are 48 state universities in this country. I can tell you that, to tell you how unwieldy it is, I'll come to the issue of whether we should jettison the Constitution. Now, labor unions will negotiate with federal government up there. The states will not be involved. The labor unions in the tertiary institutions, they will negotiate with federal government. And then they will say they have agreed, and the states must be bound by the outcome of that. How does that make sense? Nigeria is the only country in the world where there is uniform payment for public workers. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world where you have a federation. In some local governments, there are some local governments in Lagos that can pay better than Osun State. Your income determines what you pay to your workers. It can't be otherwise. So I just give you that example. So labor, wages should be in the concurrent. The critical things that should be on the exclusive list is money and monetary policies, so that people don't start to print useless monies. Security, external affairs. These are very important things. Radio, wire and wireless, which is other, should be in the concurrent. So I agree with you. Now, you see, I always tell people, beheading, cutting somebody's head is not an answer for headache. If you forget, if you get the constitution, you do another one, you are still going to have the same problem, because you can't make a perfect constitution. It doesn't happen anywhere. Perfection belongs only to God, for those of us who believe in Him. You get my point? So, American Constitution that was made over 200 years ago, there have been amendments. That's what makes man. The Constitution is not Quran or Bible. So you can't produce a perfect document. It's not possible. But when you produce it, you work it, you make it to work first for you, and see areas that there are issues. Then you try to tinker with those ones. Because we are 200 million, we can't agree on everything. It's not possible. Husband and wife, do you agree with everything with your husband? I'm sorry. And you? And with your wife, do you? No. In fact, I tell people, marriage is what you call, I call marriage, how do I normally call it? There is one language I use for marriage. Marriage is your ability to be able to say, look, because you met in your adult lives, you are set in your ways, I'm set in my own. You have to give away some of your principles and something. I hope they give it. Otherwise, there will be no meeting of mind. In fact, marriage is compromise, actually. That's why it's a compromise. The same thing with a country. You have to compromise. So you can't have all, but you should not be denied all. So I don't belong to the school of thought that once you throw away the constitution, if you throw it away, what is going to be the basis you are going to use? You see, we don't want to become a lawless society, a lawless country. You must have something to work with. You must.
Okay. You can't have it all, but you must not be denied all.
You should not be denied all.
Fortunately, under Nigeria's democracy, the winner takes all. Akinola.
All right. Thank you very much. Let us think again back to you. I want us to now come to, of all the institutions of democracy, it's only the media that the Constitution empower to monitor the other people. Section 22 of the Constitution says that the media, the press is mandated, to ensure government is accountable to the people.
Yes.
And let's look at Nigerian media.
But let me also tell you that section is non-justiciable.
Very well.
It's not justiciable.
Very well.
It's just a platinumous provision. The whole of chapter 2.
Yes, very well.
But some of us have advocated that some of those provisions should be shifted to enforceable sections of the Constitution.
Okay. Now, the media hiding under that too, and other section 39 as well.
Yes.
That's okay.
Like the freedom of expression
to do this and to do that. Now, there are two things I wanted to do. I call something monitoring the monitor.
Yes.
We are the media is the monitor, but the media also need to be monitored.
That's true.
Within your prism of history, in the last 22 years or thereabout, can you extract the Nigerian media and say how far has it gone in either policing or ensuring the stability of Nigerian democracy?
Thank you very much. Now, you see, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. But like I always say, I don't talk in absolute terms. I look at our circumstances. By the last count, all states have media outfit. Federal government has the NTA, has the NAN. Good. He who pays the piper, he takes the tune. Unfortunately, the situation is not too different even with the privately owned media. The media mirrors the ownership, either government or non-government. if you take the newspapers, once their editorial policy is directed by the owners, and we haven't grown to the level, unfortunately for us, where people can damn consequences. We haven't gotten to that level. So given the constraints under which the media operate in our country, some of the things can be excused. But in critical terms, I think the press has tried, within the confines of all the shackles that surround the practice of journalism in our country, but we could do better. One area in which we are too seriously lacking is investigative journalism. You know, I also know the constraints of lack of, even in private media organizations, journalists being owed even 3-4 years salaries. These are things we have to bet. I want to pray that integrity should be the focal point of journalists. Once you have integrity, you can meander and find your way, even through all these constraints. The fact that you are working in the government media does not mean you should tell obvious lies. No. Something has happened, everybody has seen what has happened, and you are trying to pervert it. Government officials will say something after broadcasting it, and you know that's what he has said or she has said. If you have integrity, you should just stand by the story. That's my own way of looking at it. But most times, they will capitulate. That they will be the apologist for the person who has said something that they said something. So, and that's one of the ways of holding government. The fact that government holds the media does not mean the government of the day is the people. Because all these institutions are being maintained by our taxes. And I always tell people in government especially, they don't seem to appreciate one thing. It's always good to have people who are critical while you are there. Years ago, a governor, they wanted to appoint judges. And I went to meet the governor, not here. And I said, Excellency, I pray you appoint people whom you cannot control. He said, why? I said, it's in your interest. You are not going to be on this chair forever. I said, if you appoint people who are malleable, you can control. Immediately you leave, your successors will also control the person. But if you appoint people who cannot be controlled, 10 people who succeed you can never control them. Thank God that governor listened. It's the same thing with media organizations. But people in government don't seem to appreciate. They look at the immediate, they don't look at the future. But the future is more important than today. Because you are not going to be there forever. So if you manipulate your own organizations, your television station, your radio station, immediately they are swearing in somebody else, it will be manipulated against you. But if you have set up a place that people are independent and they have been given the courage that, look, even when we are wrong, say it. After all, saying it to the people already know that you are wrong. Saying it is just a repetition of what has happened. So I want to say that, yes, the press has tried as much as it can. They can do better, but we need integrity.
Well, there's always room for improvement. The press can certainly do better. Like the judiciary, the
Like all
legislative
institutions.
Florence.
ẹ ṣe lóòtú ọ̀dọ̀ àwa oníròyìn náà ni mo fẹ́ mú yín padà lọ ní ọjọ́ ajé ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí tí ìgbẹ́jọ́ Nnamdi Kanu wáyé iléeṣẹ́ ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ orílẹ̀-èdè gbé ìwé jáde pé iléeṣẹ́ ìròyìn 10 péré ló lè wọnú yàrá ìgbẹ́jọ́ èyí tó lòdì sí òfin orílẹ̀-èdè wa tó fún gbogbo ìgbẹ́jọ́ ní àǹfààní pé ibikíbi tó máa ti fẹ́ ṣe ìgbẹ́jọ́ gbogbo ènìyàn gbọ́dọ̀ láǹfààní láti wọlé àti láti jáde. Iléeṣẹ́ ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ orílẹ̀-èdè yìí ṣe ẹ rò wípé wọ́n ń ṣe ohun tó lòdì sí ohun tó lè jẹ́ ìdènà fún ìjọba tiwantiwa?
Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀. Ṣé ẹ rí ohun tó bá rán èèyàn ṣe ẹrú kó máa fi tọmọ jẹ? Iléeṣẹ́ ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ o, iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá o, iléeṣẹ́ àmì o, iléeṣẹ́ gbogbo ẹni tó bá ti ń wọ yúnífọ̀mù ìlú yìí wọ́n gbà wípé àwọn lọ̀gá wa. Òótọ́ nìyẹn, kò dẹ̀ jẹ́ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pé ìrù kò gbọdọ̀ máa mi ajá. Ó dàbí ẹni wípé àgbọ́yé òfin àti ìwà ọmọlúwàbí kò kún tó. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n wá sọ kíní kan fún yín. Ìwé òfin sọ pé nítòótọ́ yẹ tó bá ń ṣe ìdájọ́ gbogbo ẹ̀ gbọ́dọ̀ lè wọlé bẹ̀tì oyè yẹn tí lè bá gbà ní o. Àbí òye báyìí? Ibi tá a pè ní open ìta ní owó tó ṣí kalẹ̀ yìí. Gbogbo ará òkè bá lè tàwa ní kan wá síbí gbogbo ará òkú dànù. Bá a nílé mí. Gbogbo nǹkan wọn gbọ́dọ̀ tó máa fa ìlà sí. Èmi gbàgbọ́ wípé àwọn oníròyìn lẹ́yìn àwọn olùjẹ́jọ́ àti àwọn agbẹnusọ fún wọn tá à ń pè ní lọ́ọ̀yà, àwọn oníròyìn ló yẹ kó tún tẹ̀lé lápé kán fún ní àǹfààní kan wọ inú ilé ìdájọ́ tó bá lórí oyè yẹn tí ilé ẹjọ́ bá gbà. Bẹ̀tẹ̀ àwọn ẹjọ́ kan wá ń bẹ tó pé òfin gba adájọ́ láàyè wípé mi ò fẹ́ joyè yẹn báyìí lọ lẹ́yìn àwọn tó ń jẹ́jọ́. Fún àpẹẹrẹ kóòtù ọmọ kéékèèké ọ̀tẹ̀ bá pe ọmọ kékeré kó wá jẹ́jọ́ wájú adájọ́ ọmọ tí ò tí ì pé ọmọ ọdún 18 adájọ́ lè sọ fún mi pé àwọn ò fẹ́ káwọn èèyàn wà ń bẹ̀. Tí ọ̀rọ̀ bá jẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ààbò tá a pe ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá fàpẹẹrẹ tó dẹ̀ fẹ́ sọ àwọn kan tó jẹ́ pé táwọn èèyàn bá gbọ́ yóò da ààbò wa láàmú lẹ́yìn wọn o àtàwọn lọ́ọ̀yà làwọn fẹ́ kán wà nílé ẹjọ́. Ṣùgbọ́n ti eléyìí tó ṣẹlẹ̀ l'Ábùjá yìí èmi bìrì pé wọ́n ó yẹ kó àbá gbogbo oníwèé ìròyìn kan fún wọn láàyè. Ṣùgbọ́n tó wáyé pé èèyàn mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún ni inú ilé lè gbà àwọn èèyàn mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún tó bá kọ́kọ́ dé láàrin àwọn oníròyìn fún wọlé wọ́n lè sọ fún èèyàn mẹ́ẹ̀ẹ́dógún ní òwò bí ẹ̀yin tó ṣẹ́kù ẹ̀dúró sí agbègbè kẹ́yìn náà wọ́n lè mọ̀ fún oníròyìn tó bá ṣẹlẹ̀ nínú ilé. Mo rò pé èyí ò ṣe ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo wa àti máa ń ibi tí wọ́n wá ń ṣẹ́dí a máa ń jẹ kọjá ẹ̀ gbogbo wa la máa ń ṣe. Nígbà táwọn tí ò wọ yúnífọ́ọ̀mù ní yunifásitì ẹlòmíì yóò kọjá yẹ fáá títí níbi táwa yìí náà gbogbo ẹ̀ ní ó dàbí ẹni pé àbùdá wa ni ló sọ pé tó bá fún wa ní owó kan àfẹ́ ìgbédé mẹ́wàá a máa ń jẹ́ kọjá tó yẹ ká jẹ́ àdẹ̀ kí n fọ ọmọlúwàbí nígbà gbogbo ìgbà ọmọlúwàbí wa máa ń sọnù pẹ̀lú ipò.
Lábala lè jẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n ká tó lọ abala tó kàn fẹ́ ká mọ rírì àlejò wa nípa yíyẹ wọn sí pẹ̀lú àtẹ́wọ́. A dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ yín pé bá a ṣe fi yín lẹ̀ ń dá wa lọ.
Ẹ ṣeun.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ẹ fi kẹ̀kẹ́ pamọ́. So ṣé ni ilé ọ̀rọ̀ ìlú kan abala tó kàn yẹ ká lọ sọ́dọ̀ àwọn èèyàn wa tó wà ń jókòó. Tá a bá rí nínú wọn tán fẹ́ bí ní béèrè bóyá lédè Ìgbò àbí lédè Yorùbá wọn láǹfààní a ti fi nọ́mbà síta fún àwọn èèyàn láti béèrè lórí ẹ̀rọ ìgbàsímílétì àwọn ìbéèrè wọn náà á kà ẹ̀kọ́ tó dípá máa lọ ìbéèrè kan wà tí mo fẹ́ bí a ti gbìyànjú títí láti ṣàtúnṣe òfin orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà. Àìmọye ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀ owó ló ti lọ billions of naira tí abala kan ilé ìgbìmọ̀ aṣòfin níjọba àpapọ̀ bá ti lọ tí mi bá tún dé má tún bẹ̀rẹ̀ síbẹ̀ náà bí a bá ṣe ń ju abẹ̀bẹ̀ sókè gbàgbà ibi gẹ̀lẹ́bẹ̀ náà kí ló dé.
Ẹ ṣeun. Alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ni pé ìlú ìjọba tí ẹ bá dìbò fún lẹ́rìí. àwọn aṣòfin wọ̀nyí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn báwo ni wọ́n ṣe rí. alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ nìyẹn. ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì ni wípé ìjọba tiwantiwa tá à ń ṣe yìí kìí ṣe ìjọba ológun. ìjọba ológun ni wàràwàrà wéréwéré. irú ìjọba yìí ẹ jọ fà lọ sọ́tún, ẹ fà sósì, ẹ fà síwájú, ẹ fà sẹ́yìn. olóbi jẹ́ pé ntẹ́ bá fẹnu kò yóò lè dalẹ̀. ṣùgbọ́n torí pé ológun ti wọ́n pẹ́ ìjọba lọ́dọ̀ wa ń bí a ti rò pé wàràwàrà ní gbogbo nǹkan máa ń ṣe. ọ̀rọ̀ ìjọba ò rẹ̀ níbẹ̀ yẹn. ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta ni wípé ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin gbogbo tí àwọn kan bá ṣe ní sáà tiwọn tó bá ibi tó bá badé gẹ́gẹ́ bí àṣà ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin ní gbogbo àgbáńlá ayé ni kò ń ṣe ìlú yìí nìkan lédè kẹ́ ẹ̀ sàbálẹ́yìn ẹlẹ́yin yẹ ẹyin tí ní yé ni agbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ yín o pé ilé ìgbìmọ̀ asòfin òun èyí sàbálẹ́yìn ẹlẹ́yin o lè bá òfin débì kan nígbà tẹ́yìn bá ti lọ àwọn tó ṣe ìdí yẹn náà iṣẹ́ tí wọ́n ní pé kí wọ́n á tún wò ó wá lè wá yá ju ta àwọn tó lọ torí pé àwọn òṣèṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ pẹ̀pẹ̀ wọ́n ti ní àkọsílẹ̀ irú wa ṣe lè wò nìyẹn. nínú ọ̀rọ̀ òṣèlú tiwantiwa wọ̀nyí a gbọ́dọ̀ mọ̀ yí pé a gbọ́dọ̀ kanjú pẹ̀lú sùúrù ni a gbọ́dọ̀ ṣe nǹkan wìrìwìrì kò ní ṣiṣẹ́.
ẹ ṣeun a lọ sí abala tó kàn àwọn èèyàn tó wà ní ìjókòó ní gbàgede tá a wà ìbéèrè tẹ́ ẹ bá ní bí mo ti sọ lákòókò ẹ lórí ọ̀fẹ́ láti béèrè lédè Yorùbá ìjà abínibí wa àbí èdè Ìgbò ẹ kàn já mọ̀ ẹ nawọ́ sókè pápẹ́ lẹ́sìn béèrè béèrè. PRO please, the microphone. My brother over there, please. You are recognized, you can ask your question.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Kayode Lawa. I work as a consultant.
In what area?
I'm a media personnel.
Okay.
May I use this opportunity to first of all thank the organizer of this program and specifically our guest. This is my first time of coming on the radio. I've read a lot of things about you, and you've done so well in the area of sustaining democracy in Nigeria, specifically about the issue of tribunals. Kudos to you. I really appreciate what you have been doing. The question I want to ask is that, sir, what are you doing specifically to let the young Nigerians that want to grow up emulate people like you that want to do the necessary and the right thing? That's number one. Then number two, my question goes to the OSBC. You are doing a fantastic job, and your current DG has asked an opportunity of working in the National Assembly, specifically Abuja before. Please, the communique or the outcome of this interaction, how are we going to get it to the authority, specifically at the state and the federal? That's all.
Thank you.
Please, sorry.
Please.
About the issue of the retired, and I've seen what Osun Progressive Union has been doing. Need for us to engage the people in the community. What are we doing in this direction? Thank you.
To engage what?
To engage the people in the community.
To engage people in the community?
Yeah. What are we doing?
Please, I want to crave our indulgence. We have opportunity for a question so that we can give others opportunity also to ask. Any other person wanting to ask a question? Okay, you can attend to that.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, I agree with you. OSBC should find a way of prioritizing what we are doing here. That is to broadcast it as wide as it can. And I think they can syndicate it. And I'm happy the GM is there. It can be syndicated. You will know what I mean exactly by that. Number one, well, we must continue to engage ourselves. You know, we must be able to get down to our community levels to engage ourselves. Number two, we must make our representatives accountable to us. And I'm happy you are a media consultant. How, for example, do we make sure that a member of the House of Assembly here has constituency office that is functional in his area? How do we insist and ensure that at least maybe it's once in 2 months, once in 3 months, he comes back home and has and takes part in a town hall meeting with his constituents? Those are issues that we must have. How do we make sure that people emulate us? It's left to the people. You can't force anybody. What I try to do is that I try not to have two lives. What you see is what you get with me. I abhor corruption, so I don't practice it in any form. I ask people to have integrity. I try to maintain my own. Even when I was a younger lawyer, you know, in those days, it's fashionable for young lawyers to go to magistrate court to represent people who are accused of either traffic offenses or other smaller offenses or simpler offenses. My clients knew, even way back then, more than 30 years ago, you know, when magistrate grants you bail, you are supposed to come on the day the case is adjourned so that you come and face the trial. If you don't bail, if you don't come on the day you are supposed to be there, and you didn't tell me anything about the fact that you will be absent. Usually many people, when the magistrate call the case, say, no, my client is indisposed, he's healed, he's in hospital. They will tell that kind of, well, is it white lie or red lie now? Me, I wouldn't do that. I never did it. Oh. When the magistrate called the case, he said, where is your client? I said, to be honest, I've not seen him since the last date of adjournment. Oh. What do we do now? I said, your worship, you can do what the law says you do. The bail is hereby revoked. The accused person should be arrested by the police. I don't have any problems about that. Because people must be able to be responsible for their decisions. So I always tell people, I'm not going to use my integrity to service your own. So what I try to do is I live as honestly as I can be. I live as modestly as I can be. I live as humbly as I can be. If you find those qualities good for you, you emulate them. You can't break anybody's head for not emulating, not even your children. You get my point? So the little things I try to do with the hope that some people will see goodness in what I'm doing and they would behave as such. But I can't force anybody about it though. Even the prophets were not able to force people to follow them. You get the point? And God gives you free will too, so that you can defy him, so that you can go to hell. If you decide. That's why God gives you free will to choose between what is right and what is wrong. Thank you.
Kasali Adebayo.
Yes, sir.
From Rinle.
Oh, that's our state.
Yes. He said lawyers should always be happy when elections are drawing near. And that after elections, they know it's money for them as far as litigations are concerned.
Okay.
Lawyer wants litigations, electoral litigations reduced, or is part of the free meal that they must have as part of their own dividends of democracy.
Okay. I wish that, you see, his question is contradictory of itself. If you engage a lawyer to do electoral litigation for you, that's not free meal for the lawyer. You have to work. You are working to earn a living, to earn your fees. So, but seriously speaking, you see, people tend to make the mistake. And I would refer to Yoruba here. When people tell me, Olomoje Arejo, I say Ami. And say, Lawyer, how can you say Ami? I say, the reason is simple. All those momentos who are doing me, Olomoje Arejo are people who are close to me. So to Arejo is of any mercy. So better to suppose to say Ami fun.
Oh my God.
Àwọn tí ó rẹ̀ dọ́tà gbòwó ń bẹ̀ wọn ò ní ṣe irú àdúrà yẹn lójú wa. Now, on a serious level, yes, lawyers make money from election litigation, but that's not the only thing lawyers live for. Actually, law practice is better when there's prosperity. When people have money to spend, you buy houses. You can't do the agreement by yourself. You have to come to us. You want to buy shares. You want to perfect the documents. You have to come to us. In fact, there's more money. Money that doesn't make noise. And you make millions in that. I always tell people, election petition and all those political cases, they give you visibility, not necessarily the money.
Yes.
Our politicians are the hardest people who evade payment of fees.
Yes.
In truth. You get my point? So, for some of us, it doesn't really matter, one way or the other. So, for me, no lawyer will promote election litigation. Because even the one you didn't promote, they won't even pay you. So, for me, it's very, and you see, we have to think outside of our own personal interest. This is about Nigeria. This is about our country. Anything that will bring peace, sustainable peace, and progress. It's only when there is peace you can practice any profession in the first place anyway. If there is no peace, you can't, which lawyer are you when the people are fighting on the streets? So it's very important. So yes, lawyers could make some money in litigation, in electoral litigation, but that is not the totality of training of a lawyer. There are more serious, more paying areas of law other than litigation. In election matters.
Tunde Olaolu, this is Sansa.
Yes, sir.
You've been talking about the democracy in Nigeria and the rule of law.
Yes.
How will you assess Buhari's democratic government in relations to the rule of law?
Thank you very much. I've answered this question earlier. I said rule of law to us Nigerians is only when it's convenient to us. I've said it. We do not understand the ethos and the deep meanings of rule of law. So, either Buhari government or any government is a Nigerian government run by Nigerians. What I've said is enough to cover everybody, that we must all be totally committed to the rule of law, either when our interest is involved or not. So, I believe quite honestly that in the area of rule of law, no Nigerian government has done enough. None that I know, and I think I'm old enough to know that, even from the time of independence.
Okay. This one is coming from Mercy, and he just identified himself as Bode. And the question is a bit funny, may not be directly related to what we are looking at. He said he's been reading from so many quarters that Nigeria as a nation has expired, going by the amalgamation of 1914.
Yes.
From your own point of view, has Nigeria expired?
No. That's why it takes all of us to sustain what I call the Nigerian project. You see, we are better off together the way we are. And I'll tell you why. Nigeria is a country to reckon with today in the world because of our land mass and our population. That's our relevance. If we are balkanized, if we go into small nations, the aggregate of all of us will not amount to anything. They still talk of Nigeria as giant of Africa, not because we have achieved anything spectacular, but because we are many, and because the land mass is big. So there is a lot of benefit in unity, in remaining the way we are. We will have issues, and I've said this before. If the Yorubas decide to go on their own, they are going to have the same set of issues that we are having now. For those who are old enough to remember, even in the times of Baba Olaolu, there were allegations that only the Jebus were dominating the rest of Yoruba people. Was that not so? So, dominant. That's why we ended up with 774 local governments. Within the local governments, there are allegations of domination. Within the local governments, there are allegations of domination. Either between people who say they are settlers, people who say they are indigenous. Even in this state. So we should stop deluding ourselves to believe that once Nigeria breaks, then everything will be well. It's not going to happen like that. But then all the component parts that break away, they are going to be weaker than Nigeria itself. So it's not in our interest. And come to think about it, divorce is not the best solution for all disagreement between couples. You have to look at the children of the marriage and other things that have come with it. The little small wars that had happened, even within this state, has resulted in unsavory things. When the American people were at loggerheads, you have a situation of woman married from America to Ife, going back to America, woman married from Ife, going back to America, going back to Ife. Is that the kind of thing we are looking for? And you see, those who have seen wars, they won't pray for another one. No. When I hope we are not praying that all of us will become IDPs. That's the situation of a war. Big man doesn't concern war. You leave your mansion and go and live under tents if you are lucky to be alive. Nigeria has not expired.
Nigeria has not expired.
No, it's work in progress.
Work in progress. You go back to the audience.
Look, you see, those who follow international, don't you see what is happening in the US? Don't you all see what is happening in the US? During the time of Trump, that country is more polarized than ever in history. But nobody is saying that they should break away and something. People you still have to mend. Yes.
You have to mend the way. Oh yeah. The next question, please. Your name, then your question, please. Go ahead.
This one has an epistle. Yes.
Good afternoon,
Just
sir.
the question, please.
My name is Ademola Sodi.
No, talk aloud now.
Good afternoon. My name is Ademola Sodi.
Okay.
A student of Osun State University. Sir, regarding restructuring, please, what is your home belief? Is the country ready for restructuring? One. So, in regard to that, or recently, the federal government approved a bill granting the legislative and the local government autonomy.
Okay.
Which almost all the state governments did not agree to it. So, with that kind of thing, do you think right now the country is ready for restructuring?
Thank you. You see, the ruling class, no matter the party affiliation, they are always unanimous when it comes to issues that will cheat the rest of us. Are you there? When it comes to the cheating of the ordinary people, the ruling class, it doesn't matter the political party, they are always unanimous. Now, the Constitution provides in Section 7 and then in Section 6 that the judicial arm should be independent. local government should have autonomy. But you should ask the question, why are governors resisting the autonomy of local government? It's because they always control their resources. Why is the federal government running away from the issue of a devolution of power? It's because of control of resources. So resources is at the bottom of all this. You have a situation where local governments only exist on paper in most parts of this country. I don't want to say in all parts. In most parts of this country. The court said the judiciary should be independent and autonomous, and there was a court decision. It took the judicial workers to go on strike for the governors to now agree grudgingly. And I ask this question. There are three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, the judiciary. Of the three arms, the judiciary has the most educated set of people. Judiciary is the only place for you to become a high court judge. You must have been called to bar, which means you have had your LLB, then you have your BL, which is like an LLM, like a master's. And then you must have had those ones for at least 10 years before you can become a high court judge, which means at least you must be a 11-year postgraduate experienced person before you can become a judge. But to become the president of this country, all you need to show by the constitution is evidence of attendance in a secondary school. It doesn't say you must pass, oh. Are you there? The same thing to become a member either of the Senate, House of Rep, or House of Assembly. And the constitution goes further, that if you have primary school leaving certificate with requisite experience, it will be treated like school cert. And you are now saying that people who are the best educated of the three arms cannot control their own finances. Don't you see the problem? Are you getting my point? That's the only way to break it down for you to understand. You now say judges, who are the most qualified educationally of the three arms, cannot manage their own affairs. Whereas a primary school certificate holder who worked in the local government as a messenger for 5 years will be treated, and so you see the problem. So I just want to join others in appealing to the governors. It's in their own interest for these things to come through. If the local governments have been functioning well, most of the problem of unemployment will be highly reduced. You know, at the time when local governments were working well, you get to any local government headquarters, you see a lot of people there waiting. They want to, so hope is what sustains humanity. The day you lose hope, that's why you become Boko Haram and a bandit and a kidnapper. But once people have hope, even when they don't have what they are looking for, but they are hopeful, not only will they preserve their own lives, they preserve the lives of other people. But once you are hopeless, and to for ojú apá kan, kò lè fọ́ akèrègbè mú tí o. And to for ojú tí ẹ kan, ẹ bá yẹ akèrègbè mú kèrègbè àbúrò yẹ yí. Kèrègbè báwọn kèrègbè ṣe yá ní ojú tó. No, restructure. You see, my problem with it as a person is, to the Yoruba people, restructure is different from what the Igbos mean by restructure. It's different from what the Hausa Fulani mean by restructure. It's also different from what the minority, what the people call minority, what they mean. There is no unanimity of what restructure is all about. For me, equity, justice, empathy are the things we need from our leaders. The average Nigerian does not care whether the governor and his deputy come from the same local government. As long as what is due to me is given to me. That's the problem. But in this country, two problems. Most of us, if not all of us, believe that the best way to run away from poverty is to be in government. Look, not necessarily because of your salary, but because of what you are going to steal. Number two is that except you are there, What is due to your area will never get to your area. Whereas, if you can address these two issues, we all know that, look, going into governance or going to government is to serve. There will be less acrimony and struggle for these positions. I always tell people, why are people fighting because of they lost an election or something? Why should not become life and death? But the fact that people are ready to do anything, including committing murder, to get to power, shows you clearly they are not after your welfare. Number two, for goodness sake, these resources belong to the people. Why can't we be equitable? Why can't we be just? Why must it that every good thing must come to the village of the man who is in power, to the detriment of others? So I believe, for me, restructure means let the good of the country go to every part of the country, not minding who is at the top. Let the good of the state go to all the crannies and corners of the state, not minding who is the chief executive. And you see that this happens, there will be less agitation even for power. There will be less agitation. Because many people want to go there so that my people will be heard. But once your people can be heard, even when you are not there, why do you need to kill yourself because you want to be there by any means? So I believe that let's enthrone equity, justice, empathy, and good neighborliness. This country will be better.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
My name is Rafiu Olaolu, Admin Department of Osun State Broadcasting Corporation. The question is this, sir. The famous Yoruba agitator for secession, Chief Sunday Adeyemo Igboho, has been arrested at the Republic of Benin, while the federal government is making frantic effort for his extradition to face series of allegations levied against him in Nigeria. Can you please tell us the position of law in this matter? Thank you.
What? What do we call extradition? Number one, there is usually what we call bilateral treaties. That is an agreement between two countries. Usually, extradition is always a bilateral issue. That is, it must be reciprocal. You must have an agreement between two countries to say, look, if our citizen commits an offense and runs to your country, you bring him back to us, and vice versa. An agreement that binds more than two countries is called what? Multilateral agreements. Like the UN Charter is a multilateral because many countries subscribe to it. So apparently there is that treaty between Nigeria and Benin. And the way it works is that if you run to another country, they will look at the allegations made against you. If it also amounts to an offense in their own country, and it's found that in your law it's also an offense, they will bring you back to come and face trial. You get the point? So, and I think that's what is playing out currently on the Sunday Igboho thing. So we all need to wait and see the landing position.
Okay, just one more from the audience.
Somebody is
I have two hands up. Okay, two. Then we take last one, Ibayo.
My name is Adiola Adebayo of OSBC. Fundamental human rights. There are about 30 of it, and in the Nigerian Constitution, the so-called 1999 Constitution, there are about 10. Freedom of expression, in particular, is missing. No human being can speak out. Why did Sorosoke go down? Your child got raped, the security will not be there for you, and the judiciary will not be there. What is the way out for an average citizen that is not lettered?
Let's take last one, Ibayo's question, so that you answer the two together.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Sir, 2 years ago, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria came up with what he called RUGA.
Ruga, yes.
Yes, sir. Nigerians cried out. He changed the title.
Oh.
He said cow colony.
Yes.
Now it is livestock intervention program. Sir, who owns the land? Naturally, we say Ile Yoruba. My father lived and died as a cocoa farmer. Can he leave our village and go to Kwara and enter the forest there and says he wants to continue with his business without any recourse to the people who owns the land naturally? That's
Papa's land.
Thank
Sir, your response, sir.
Thank you. Let me start with Ruga and Papa's land. You see, all of us must get something clear. Before the Land Use Act in 1978, yes, our fathers, our forebears owned the land. From 1978, nobody owns land in Nigeria anymore. All land in each of the states. Go and look at Section 1 of the Land Use Act. All land in every state of this country is vested in the governor of the state for the benefit of the citizens of the state. And that is why today is an anathema when you want to draw an agreement to say that you are giving what do we call it now? Fee simple absolute, which means I own the land. Nobody owns land anymore in Nigeria. What you have today is a freehold. But what you own as the original owner of is a lease. And that's why when you take a C of O or R of O, they say you are granted the land for 99 years. You get the point? Fortunately, nobody has lived up to 99 years from 1978 to see the consequence. And most of us are not likely to be here then. You get my point? So, that's number one. Number two, even in spite of the Land Use Act, there is still the law of trespass. You can't, anybody who is in possession, in fact, law, we are told that in law, possession is 99% of ownership. So once you are in possession, you can defend the land to all levels except against the true owner. There is no law in our country that allows unfettered right of ingress and egress in another person's property. There is no law that says you can come willingly, nilly to somebody else's property. That would be trespass. And the law of trespass is that you can abate trespass by using reasonable force. All these things are very clear. Now, I think the problem really is not about the ordinary cow herders. I think the problem is the coming in of criminal elements under the guise of cow herding. After all of us that are here, we are used to seeing all these herders from almost time immemorial. There were no problems. But the moment criminal elements came into their midst, using the facade of rearing cow, that's when we have this problem. And there have been different theories how this came about. Number one is the shrinking of the charge of the charge. Well, we have to look at problems from the beginning. If you treat a problem superficially, you are just wasting your time. We are told that the child has lost about 90% of its waters, if not more. So people who are making their livings around the basin of the Lake Chad had to emigrate, had to leave. Then wars that occurred along the Nile Valley, the Niger Valley, coming from Futajalong, had also contributed to this. Number three is the intervention of nature in terms of extension of desertification and so on and so forth. But you see, our problem is sometimes we try to behave as if we don't have capacity to solve long-term problems. This thing did not happen yesterday. It started a long time ago. We were ill-prepared. We never prepared for it. Then number 4 is our lack of attention to details. Most of the security challenges is because we never paid attention to issues. Boko Haram did not start yesterday. It started a long time ago. But the problem came to a head when their leader was summarily executed extrajudicially. And that is why a country that lacks, when there is no justice, people will find their own way of remedying whatever wrongs you have done to them. If at the point Mohammed was extrajudicially killed, those who are responsible were brought to book, maybe Boko Haram won't go this far. But if the state can perpetuate illegality, the citizens will take a cue. That's the problem. So, for me, these are issues we must all address. And like I told you, we are not likely to be able to run away from ourselves. No, but let our leaders sit down, call those who have the knowledge, irrespective of race, religion, or sex, and make them to attend to these issues and provide long-term solutions. Chad is receding, or he has virtually gone. What do we go do about it? How do we address this problem of desertification? How do we ensure that we go back to the days when people didn't worry themselves about cow herders coming or going? And of course, politics is at the bottom of some of these problems. Politics. You know, Adijadimadaru, what the police say. So that's also very important. Well, Section 39 guarantees you freedom of expression. You know, the law can guarantee you freedom, and on your own, you put yourself inside the cage. Most of us lack the conviction, lack the courage of our convictions. Most of us. Even on our own, don't say anything because the government will do something. Even when the government is not going to do anything. Mi ò fẹ́ kú. Olùdíje ilé bàbá rẹ̀. To practice any profession in the world, you must be courageous. You must. Even to be a farmer. So, for us, we need courage. If you want to enjoy your freedom of expression, you need courage to propagate what you believe in, but be careful of the laws, because there are laws also that guide what you can say and what you cannot say. There are different ways of saying the king's mother is a witch. If you go to the king and say your mother is a witch, in fact what you are saying is that you should be beheaded. But you can go to the king, Kabiyesi, long may you reign. We have problems in this community. Hey, what's this something? It applies that a lot of people around though. In town, in the market, even in the palace, even in our own house. The man will get the message. The people will tell you, I felt so Kibosi. If somebody comes out and says, Ibosi, all of us will scatter. Is that not so? Then if somebody comes and says, Ibosi, Bosi, Ibosi, because you like dancing, you start dancing.
Oh my God.
So I think that answers your question.
Okay. Sani Adefele, Ibosi, àwọn ayé bá jó.
Baba Sadasi did the real. That's how it is.
Our time is fast spent. Well, I will still allow the panelists to a quick one, each a question each. Just quick one.
Okay. Sir, the world poverty clock shows that Nigeria has overtaken India in as a country that
as one of the poorest countries in the world.
Yes, that has the most people living in extreme poverty.
Yeah.
How did we find ourselves here, and what do you think we can do to come out of this quagmire?
Thank you. Late Chief M.K. Abiola, he said, those who don't know poverty, what poverty means, will glamorize it. He said poverty is a long-distance runner. You must keep on running. If you think it's not a dash, to be ahead of poverty, you must be a better long-distance runner. With respect to most Nigerians, many of them will disagree with what I'm going to say. We are not hardworking people. Forget it. And one is example I'll just give to you, then go and think about it. How many holidays do you have in a year? Nigeria is probably the only country that I know where public holiday will be declared, and most of us will start to clap. We are idolate. Japan has no natural resources. It's the third richest country in the world. The average Japanese work for 18 hours a day. Why is it that we have so many chances here? One chance. Because we believe that a shortcut to getting rich. You can't have that orientation and the poverty will not deal with you. One chance. And that's why we have so many Yahoo boys, Yahoo girls, and so on and so forth. As good as NSAS was, quote and unquote, the fact that we learned later that a lot of those Yahoo boys were the people sponsoring it makes it very sad. Any country that celebrates criminality, poverty will be prevalent. Poverty will be prevalent. Now, all these years, what have we been doing to create sustainable growth and development and jobs? Nothing. Most of our graduates are not fit for purpose. And I'm happy. The university people are here. The orientation is that once you leave university, you must find government job. Nobody does that anywhere in the world, except here. So, we have all these internal dissensions and contradictions. How many people can the government employ? How many people can the university employ? Minimum. Okay. Self-employment is the way to go. That's why you are going to create, and that's why I encourage young guys when they come to me. I am doing farming. Whatever I have, I'll assist you because I know you are serious. We are going to be an employer of labor. I met a guy, a chap in Ibadan, 2 days ago, and he told me. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm a cab driver." Which school did you go? He told me he's a graduate of the university. I said, "How long ago did you start?" He said, "About 6 years ago." "How is it going?" He said, "Sir, Daddy, I thank God." He said, "At least in a bad month, I will make an income of 100,000. I said, "That's why I encourage. You know, I have one practice. When I go into any public toilet, either at the airport, anywhere, and I find people who do cleaning, I give them dash. That's what your graduates go outside to go and do. That's why I love for toilet, man. So if people can stay here and do it, they should be encouraged. So most of these poverty things are self-imposed on us. People run away from their places. They don't think of anything except just to get one collar job. Whereas when you are self-employed, you create employment for others and you live well.
Okay, sir.
Yes, yes,
straight
sir.
to the point.
Okay, sir. It's a little, okay, straight to the point. It's a little difficult. Well, the summation of what you have said, that the solution to all of this, which you have said, I think, appear to be talking about the political behavior of the people. It also consonants in what Lord Lugard said about us in his book, The Dual Mandate, published in 1926. And the African mark of this race type is dishonest, full of personal vanity. He likes power but does not understand the responsibility of power. Of course, that is the essence that your statement encapsulates today now. But does it mean that the whole thing does not have any solutions? What is the way forward?
We've been providing solutions. Look, let's be honest, let's be just, let's be fair, let there be equity, let's be transparent, let's shun corruption, let's have integrity. At least 60% of the problems we have in Nigeria is caused by corruption. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Nigeria is the only country I know where corruption has tribe and religion. If I make allegation against you now that you are corrupt, the first thing your people will say is that because Yusuf Ali is a Muslim, that's why he's going after, because you are a Christian. Nobody looks at the substance. If it's an inter-tribal kind of allegation, a Yoruba man making that allegation against somebody who's not a Yoruba, it's because he's not a Yoruba and he's Yoruba. Are you guys? So that's why corruption has tribe. It has religion.
In Nigeria.
In Nigeria. Whereas if you want to be holistic, when an allegation of corruption is made or such allegations, look at the substance. Is it correct? Is it right? But we don't look at that. And corruption is good as long as it benefits you. If your brother is a minister and somebody who had just one car, one beat-up car, before he left, and in 6 months he comes back with a new vehicles in his name. Where is my own name? It's not that Bravo letting me. You know, it's so sad. And unfortunately, the religious people, they promote this corruption in the mosques and the churches.
Seriously?
Yeah, they want to build mosque, they want to build church. Nobody cares where you bring the money. As long as you bring, people take bribe and they pay tithe out of it. Nobody cares.
Serious one there. The last from Olaolu.
Ká wá sí Fásitì Ọ̀ṣun tẹ́tí jẹ́ alága ìgbìmọ̀ olùṣàkóso ibẹ̀. Ìdíje ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ lábẹ́nú báyìí fún ẹni tí ó jẹ́ gíwá tuntun fásitì náà. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí àgbà ọ̀jẹ̀ agbẹjọ́rò tí kò gbòógì ẹ̀gẹ́ tó sì máa ń dúró lórí òtítọ́, ọ̀rọ̀ wo lẹ fẹ́ sọ fún àwọn tí wọ́n ń kópa nínú yìí láti fi wọ́n lọ́kàn balẹ̀ pé ohun tó tọ́ ni ìgbìmọ̀ yẹn yóò ṣe?
Ẹ ṣé púpọ̀, inú mi dùn pé ẹgbẹ́ béèrè yìí wá. Kí n sòótọ́ fún yín, látìgbà tá a ti gbé ìkéde jáde pé ẹni tó bá fẹ́ o kó máa bọ̀ wá, oríṣiríṣi nǹkan la ti gbọ́. Pé ní èyí lè kẹ, eléyìí ti pọ̀jù kẹ, ẹni tẹ́ ẹni kan mú wá yìí pọ̀ kẹ. Alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ tí mo kọ́ fẹ́ sọ wá ni pé kò sí bí mú alágbàrọ̀ ṣe ga tó, ẹni tó gbogbo fún lọ̀gá rẹ̀. Ẹni tí ó gbà yẹn ṣiṣẹ́ ní ẹ̀tọ́ láti sọ pé tí mo fẹ́ bí iṣẹ́ mi lélẹ̀, àkọ́kọ́ gbàdọ̀ gbà yẹn ná. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì ni wípé tó bá jẹ́ pé àwọn kan ò ní nǹkan tá a kọ síbẹ̀ yẹn ni kò ní wá sọ́pọ̀lọ́ tiwa náà kó yẹ ká kọ́ sí. Àwọn kan ní àmọ́ wọn o, mo dẹ̀ ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì ni. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta, mo búra lórúkọ Ọlọ́run, gbogbo èèyàn ń wò mí nílé báyìí, Ọlọ́run tí mò ń sìn mọ̀ wípé mi ò lẹ́nì kankan lọ́kàn pé òun yóò jẹ kankan bẹ́ẹ̀. Ẹni tọ́lọ́run bá ní kójú òṣùwọ̀n, tọ́lọ́run tẹ̀ pé òun àsìkò ẹ̀ tó yóò rí. Mo sì mọ̀ wípé gbogbo àwọn tá a jọ wà nínú ìgbìmọ̀ kò sẹ́nì kankan ní wọn tó sọ fún mi pé òun lẹ́nìkan ní kọ̀rọ̀ kan, kò sí. Lójú ẹ̀mí tiwa ń tà rò kó dáa jù tí ó yẹ kí yunifásitì kó lè mọ mókè làwa ṣe. Mo sì sọ fáwọn ẹnìkan, tẹ bá rò wípé ẹni tí ó jẹ ààrẹ yunifásitì ìjọba àpapọ̀ náà ló lè jẹ irú ààrẹ tiwa, olúwa rẹ̀ àádáràn. Torí pé àwọn fásitì ìjọba àpapọ̀ ọ̀gá ọ̀tà ni wọ́n, owó aláàrú ó pè é ní wọ́n adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ìjọba tó jẹ́ ọ̀gá wa bàbá gómìnà Oyètọ́lá pé wọ́n ń gbìyànjú, ṣùgbọ́n àwọn òkà ojú ìlú ìwọ̀nba owó díẹ̀díẹ̀ tá à ń rí pa láàfin ló jẹ́ pé ó pẹ́ tán okùn márùn-ún ìjọ kan ìdọ́gbọ̀n oṣù là ń sanwó oṣù fún wa ẹni tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ mẹ́ẹ̀. Adẹ̀ ń ṣe lé ibùn láyé ìjọba àtàná tí àwọn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ ìjọba tí wọ́n rówó gbà pé àwọn ń sanwó pé kò sẹ́ni tó kó wá láti lẹ́nu wa ìwọ̀n bá ń tàn rí ṣe mẹ́rin làwọn ẹni tó jẹ́ alákòóso tó ń mójútó tí wọ́n jẹ́ kí àwọn èèyàn jẹ àbújẹ́bùdànù tá a fi ń rówó oṣù san tó fi ń pé ìjọba ò rówó oṣù fún wa pé lóṣooṣù pé tó wáyé pé 100 ni o kọ́dẹ̀kọ́ 100 kalẹ̀ ìjọba náà láwọn nǹkan míì tó ń ṣe bá a ṣe ń dọ́gbọ́n nìyí nítorí tẹ̀ fi wà mẹ́rin tàbí pé a fi kọ́ sínú ara àwé yẹn pé ẹni tí ó bá wá o kó lóun ó jẹ ààrẹ o ó gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ olóòótọ́ èèyàn o ó gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́ tóun náà ó lè jáde sí gbòòrò tí ó lọ bá wa wá owó káwọn ọmọ wọn lè rí ilé ẹ̀kọ́ wá èmi gẹ́gẹ́ bí alága àgbìmọ̀ láti ìjọ tó ti yàn mí síbẹ̀ mo ti sọ níjọ́ tá a bá ti rówó oṣù tán a ti skul mi o èmi ò ń saláwìn tó èmi náà gbà àwọn èèyàn kankan díẹ̀díẹ̀ síbi iṣẹ́ mi wọ́n dẹ̀ ti sọ fún wa pé oògùn aláàrú ò gbọdọ̀ gbẹ kẹ́ tó sanwó ìyá rẹ̀ fún mo sì gbàgbọ́ torí náà kò sí nǹkan tó wà nínú ìwé ohun tí òun ṣe pé àwọn èèyàn ń ṣe kò sí dàbí alára nínú rẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n àwọn èèyàn wà tó pé báwọn ti rò wí pé ọlọ́run ẹ̀tọ́ àwọn ni láti jẹ nítorí wọ́n bá fẹ́ jẹ tí wọ́n pé tí ò bá rí bọ́ ṣe rò ó àwọn náà ó tarí biribi wọ́n ó tarí biribi bá lójú ọ̀nà tó tọ́ àbọ̀nà tí ò tọ́ ṣùgbọ́n ọlọ́run wà láàrin gbogbo àti ó dájọ́ fún gbogbo wa ṣùgbọ́n mo sọ fún yín èmi o àtàwọn ìgbìmọ̀ yẹn kò sẹ́yìn kankan nu wa tó jẹ pé sábúrò wa la ní àbẹ́gbọ̀n àbára alé kò sí ẹni tó bá ti dúró wa yìí lọ kò lè jẹ ààrẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ mọ́ ọjọ́ orí rẹ̀ ti kọjá so bẹ̀tẹ̀ mo fún wa ní ìdánilójú pé tí yóò jẹ́ kí ilé ẹ̀kọ́ lọ sókè sí ju tẹ́lẹ̀ yìí lọ tí ó sì gómìnà àtijọba rẹ̀ lórúkọ dáadáa àtàwọn náà lórúkọ tó wá bó ṣe wù kó mọ àtijọba owó bàjẹ́ tí apá ò bá ṣe é san ẹ̀ mọ́ ká lérí ni.
tó apá ò ṣe é san fún Mallam Yusuf Olaolu Alli.
ẹ ṣe.
apá ò ṣe é san fún ilé-ìwé UNIOSUN.
àmì o.
apá ò ṣe é san fún OSBC.
àmì o.
yóò sì ṣe é san fún ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun.
àmì.
àmọ̀rírì yìí pé àpèyẹ dá wa lọ.
ẹ ṣe o.
fún àwọn èèyàn tí wọ́n wá ní gbogbo ọ̀nà from the civil rights organization where we have Ayo Ologun here, we appreciate you, to the vigilante group led by Commander Bello Wasiu Aderemi, we appreciate you. The Nigeria Police Force, we have the PPRO here, one of our own, Yemisi Opalola, representing the State Commissioner of Police, we appreciate you. Of course, we have the students. There are many here from UNIOSUN and a number of secondary schools. We have the Nigeria Bar Association here. We appreciate you. Retired Justice Kunle Adeigbe, we are welcoming you back home.
A veteran journalist.
Yes, it started from here, and we are happy having you around. We appreciate you a great deal. The management of UNIOSUN, led by Professor Labo Popola, the Vice Chancellor. Of course, we also have key functionaries of the institution accompanying you. We have Professor Hafiz Ebelo, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Admin and Development. Alhaji Gafar Adebayo Shitu, Registrar. Mr. Bola Newa Feruke, the Bossa. Mrs. Tino Ade Adewale, University Librarian. Mr. Adufe Oluwaloni, Secretary to the Management of UNIOSUN. And Alhaji Fatai Ali, we appreciate you all for coming. Of course, we also have our own management, ably led by the Director General, Rashid Folarami. We appreciate you. There is a committee overseeing this program. And you have as the leader of the team, Shola Bolaji, the Director of Corporate Affairs. We appreciate you. Other members, some of them are here, some are over there. Bose Bangoye is there. Of course, we also have Wale Alao. Bose Bangoye is the Director of Programs in charge of radio. And you appreciate him also for the link that he gave us as far as you are concerned. So, Mrs. Bangoye, you are appreciated. Of course, we have other management members here present. You have Adiola Adibayo. She's in charge of our station in Ibokun. Of course, Jolade Ibarola. Alli Atunde Oguntomi, who is in charge of our budget, research and planning. Also, Muideen Adeleke in charge of sports. And when we talk about money, the other time we were talking about money, we also have that here. Demola Oyelaki is in charge of our marketing. Of course, we have Mrs. Adepoju, who is in charge of the finance per se. And everything we are doing here, if it gets up, is courtesy of the engineering department. And we have a neighbor aunt in a woman there, engineer Owojayi. We appreciate you all. Please let's give ourselves a round of applause. Once again, Mallam Yusuf, we appreciate you. And to our panelists, Akinola Adenitan, thanks for having you around.
Thanks for the
You are a friend of the house. At least we'll be meeting again in the newsroom.
Very well.
Abimbola Babatunde.
Thank you.
Thanks, and Alaroye, Adúpẹ́ pé àpèyí pé ẹ dá wa lóhùn. Àròyé ò máa rọ̀ yín lọ́rùn. Ẹ máa máa rò. To every other person who have been involved, from the engineering crew to the public relations officer who has been running up and down, to other management staff, and the entire staff member of OSBC, you are all well appreciated. Yes, this one is done. Hopefully another month is coming, and that is August, the month that will be marking the 30th anniversary of the creation of Osun State. Hopefully, we'll have a big fish as our guest of the month. Until then, Akinola Olaolu is my name. I say thanks for being there always. Bye-bye for now.